I'm Michael Harrington. I'm 72 years old. Some of you may remember me from a recent video. The response to that message surprised me, and I want to thank you for listening. But today, I need to share something I left unsaid then. Something deeply personal. Something that completely reshaped how I understand love, and I need you to stay with me, because what I'm about to say might spare you from a kind of regret that quietly follows you for a lifetime. Forever inside that my wife, Eleanor, and I were married for 39 years. Longer than many people expect anything to last these days. And for most of those years, I believed we had a strong marriage. Not storybook perfect, but steady. Reliable. The kind of relationship people point to and say, they'll be fine. I took pride in that. I told myself we'd done something right. What I didn't understand then is that longevity isn't the same thing as intimacy. You can stay married for decades and still slowly drift apart without ever noticing when it started. You can share meals, share responsibilities, share a last name, and still miss each other emotionally in ways that matter more than anything else. Eleanor passed away 8 years ago. Ovarian cancer. Diagnosed in February, gone before summer ended. 5 months from routine checkups to hospice care. And during one of those quiet evenings near the end, when machines hummed softly and the room smelled like antiseptic and flowers, she said something to me that I haven't stopped hearing since. She said, "David, we spent so much energy managing life that we forgot to live it together." At the time, I didn't know how to respond. I felt accused, even though she wasn't accusing me. I wanted to argue. To list all the ways I'd been a good husband. I'd stayed loyal. I'd worked hard. I'd kept our lives stable. We didn't scream at each other. We didn't have dramatic blow-ups. We were calm. Predictable. Safe, but that was exactly the problem. We were safe in a way that slowly starved the relationship. For years, Eleanor would float ideas my way. Little invitations. What if we learned a language together? Do you remember how we used to cook together on Sundays? Let's drive somewhere this weekend, no destination, just us. And I always had an answer ready. Work was stressful. Money needed watching. Time was limited. There would be a better moment later. That I truly believed I was being practical. Responsible. I didn't see how each no landed on her. I didn't realize that every dismissal quietly taught her that connection was optional to me. That curiosity about her inner world was negotiable. That I told myself love was proven through consistency. Through showing up every day. Through not leaving. And while those things matter, they aren't enough on their own. Love doesn't survive on stability alone. It needs engagement. It needs attention. It needs presence that goes deeper than proximity. The truth is, I stopped asking questions whose answers I didn't already know. I stopped wondering who she was becoming. I stopped making room for moments that didn't have a clear purpose. It wasn't one big decision. It was 100 small ones. One evening choosing television over conversation. One weekend prioritizing errands over connection. One habit formed, then repeated, until it felt normal. Eleanor adjusted. She always did. She joined book clubs. Traveled with friends. Took up painting. Built a life that didn't require much from me emotionally. I mistook her independence for contentment. I thought we were simply evolving into a quieter phase of marriage. That we weren't evolving. We were coexisting. That I convinced myself this was what mature love looked like. Less excitement. Fewer surprises. Comfort over curiosity. But comfort, unchecked, turns into neglect. And neglect doesn't announce itself. It just settles in, slowly, until the distance feels ordinary. When Eleanor got sick, time collapsed. Suddenly, there was no later. The future shrank to appointments and test results. And in those months, we talked more honestly than we had in years. She shared things she'd carried silently. Moments she'd felt invisible. Times she needed me emotionally and didn't know how to ask anymore. One night, not long before she passed, she told me about a place she'd always wanted to visit. Lisbon. Her mother was born nearby, and she dreamed of walking the streets, hearing the language, feeling connected to something older than us. She'd brought it up countless times over the years. Every time I postponed it, she didn't speak with anger. That was the hardest part. She spoke like someone who had already let go of hope. Like she had accepted that wanting more closeness from me wasn't something she was going to receive. I asked her why she hadn't pushed harder. Why she hadn't demanded more. She looked at me and said, "I wanted you to want it too." That sentence cracked something open in me. Because she was right. She didn't want compliance. She wanted desire. She wanted me to care because it mattered to her. And I had failed to offer that. What I've learned since then is simple, but devastating. Relationships don't collapse from one catastrophic mistake. They fade through indifference. Through assuming presence equals connection. Through believing time will make up for effort. You think you know your partner because you've known them a long time. But people change quietly. And if you're not paying attention, you miss it. One day, you realize the person beside you feels unfamiliar. Or worse, you realize they were slipping away for years while you told yourself everything was fine. That understanding came too late for me. After Eleanor died, I found a notebook tucked away in a drawer beside her bed. It wasn't meant for me. That much was clear. The pages were filled with thoughts she never spoke aloud. Reading it felt intrusive, but stopping felt impossible. It was like finally hearing a voice I'd ignored for years. She wrote about loneliness. About feeling emotionally unseen. About the ache of sharing a home with someone who no longer truly noticed her. She described moments that seemed insignificant to me at the time. A story she told that I half listened to. A meal eaten in silence. An evening when she needed comfort and I offered distraction instead. She also wrote about love. About who I was when we met. About believing that version of me still existed. About hoping I'd return if she waited long enough. That realization nearly broke me. I had been physically present the entire time. Sleeping beside her. Sharing space. But emotionally, I might as well have been somewhere else. Here's the truth I wish someone had told me earlier. Good intentions don't protect a relationship. Neither does loyalty alone. Relationships require active participation. They require curiosity, effort, and vulnerability. You don't get credit for not doing harm. You get credit for doing the work. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't unfaithful. I wasn't absent in obvious ways. I was simply passive. And passivity is its own form of damage. If you're listening to this and you're in a relationship, ask yourself something honestly. When was the last time you asked your partner a question and truly listened to the answer? Not because you had to, but because you wanted to understand them better. When was the last time you did something simply because it mattered to them? If you can't remember, that's not a small thing. We assume time is guaranteed. We assume opportunities will repeat themselves. We assume love will wait until we're less tired, less busy, less distracted. It won't. Love responds to attention, not intention. One of you will go first. That's not pessimism. That's reality. And when that happens, what you're left with isn't just grief. It's memory. And memory can be either a comfort or a burden. I live with the burden of knowing how little it would have cost me to say yes more often. A weekend. A conversation. A shared experience. Those things felt optional then. They feel priceless now. I think about Lisbon more than I should. About how easily we could have gone. About how much it would have meant to her. I think about the dinners we didn't linger over. The questions I didn't ask. The moments I assumed would always be there. They weren't. People told me I'd been a good husband. They meant well. But they were wrong. I was an adequate one. I met expectations. I didn't rise above them. And love deserves more than adequacy. Being a good partner means choosing connection even when it's inconvenient. It means staying interested when familiarity makes it easy not to. It means showing up emotionally, not just physically. That I failed at that. And now, I carry the weight of that knowledge that if you're still reading this, you still have something I don't. Time. And time is only valuable if you use it intentionally. Talk to your partner. Listen without planning your response. Say yes more often. Care about what matters to them simply because it matters to them. Don't wait for a crisis to remind you of what's important. Don't wait for absence to teach you the value of presence. Love is not a feeling you coast on. It's a practice you commit to daily. I can't change my past. But maybe my regret can serve a purpose. Maybe it can stop someone else from learning this lesson the hardest way possible. If you have someone beside you right now, don't assume they know how much they matter. Show them. Ask them. Choose them. While you still can, because one day, all that's left will be quiet rooms, unanswered questions, and the realization that what you needed most was already there, waiting for your attention. I'm not sharing this to shame you. I'm sharing it because you still have time. If you're in a relationship, that person is still there. You can still ask the questions you avoided. You can still say yes to the trips, the conversations, the moments you kept postponing. But only if you choose to do it now. On my bookshelf, I keep a photograph of Eleanor from our early years together. She's laughing, hair messy, eyes bright with plans for a future we believed was endless. I look at that picture and think about who she became, still generous, still loving, but gradually quieter, carrying disappointments I helped create through years of emotional absence. Eleanor was right. We confused stability with closeness. Please don't repeat my mistake. Don't wait until memory replaces opportunity. Love the people in your life deliberately, attentively, while you still can. This channel exists to share lessons learned too late. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more reflections like this. And if it meant something to you, leave a comment and tap the like button right now today.